What is an American? By Michel Jean de Crevecour. Shortly after the American Revolution, de Crevecour wrote a series of letters called Letters from an American Farmer. These letters were well received in Europe and told about and asked the question, what is an American? In this great American asylum, the poor of Europe have by some means met together, and in consequence of some various causes, to what purpose should they ask one another what countrymen they are? Alas, 2/3 of them had no country. Can a wretch who wanders about, who works and starves, whose life is a continual scene of sore affliction and pinching penury, can that man called England or any other kingdom his country? A country that had no bread for him, whose fields procured him no harvest, who met with nothing but the frowns of the rich, the severity of laws with jails and punishments, who own not a single foot of extensive surface of this planet? No! Urged by a variety of motives, here they came. Everything has tended to regenerate them. New laws, a new mode of living, a new social system. Here they are become men. In Europe, they were as so many useless plants, wanting vegetation mold and refreshing showers. They withered and were mowed down by want, hunger, and war. But now, by the power of transplantation, like all other plants, they have taken root and flourished. Formerly, they were not numbered in any civil list of their country, except in those of the poor. Here, they rank as citizens. What attachment can a poor European immigrant have for a country where he had nothing? The knowledge of the language, the love of a few kindred as poor as himself were the only cords that tied him. His country is now that which gives him land, bread, protection, and consequence. Ubi panis, ibi patria, which means, where my bread is earned, there is my country, is the motto of all immigrants. What, then, is an American, this new man? He is either a European or a descendant of a European, hence that strange mixture of blood which you will find in no other country. I could point out to you a man whose grandfather was an Englishman, whose wife was Dutch, and whose son married a French woman, and whose present 4 sons now have 4 wives of different nations. He is an American who, leaving behind him all his ancient prejudices and manners, received new ones from the new mode of life he has embraced, the new government he obeys, and the new rank he holds. He becomes an American by being received in the broad lap of his great alma mater. Here, individuals of all nations are melted into a new race of men whose labors and prosperity will one day cause great change in the world. Americans are the Western pilgrims who are carrying along with them that great mass of arts, sciences, vigor, and industry which began long since in the East. They will finish the great circle. The Americans were once scattered all over Europe. Here they are incorporated into one of the finest systems of population which had ever appeared, and which will hereafter become distinct by the power of the different climates they inhabit. The American ought, therefore, to love his country much better than that wherein he or his forefathers were born. Here, the rewards of his industry follow with equal steps the progress of his labors. His labor is founded on the basis of nature, self-interest. Can it want a stronger allurement? Wives and children who before in vain demand of him a morsel of bread, now fat and frolicsome, gladly help their father to clear those fields whence exuberant crops are to arise to feed and clothe them all, without any part being claimed either by a despotic prince or a rich abbot or a mighty lord. Here, religion demands but little of him, a small voluntary salary to the minister, and gratitude to God. Can he refuse these? The American is a new man who acts upon new principles. He must, therefore, entertain new ideas and form new opinions. From involuntary idleness, servile dependence, penury, and useless labor, he has passed to toils of very different nature, rewarded by ample subsistence. This is an American. The question of de Crevecour, what is an American, is worth asking today. Too many Americans are too quick to dismiss other Americans who do not share the same background. And yet, when we scratch beneath the shallow surface of prejudice, we will find, as de Crevecour found, that we have more in common than we have differences. Americans used to be predominantly Western Europeans, but our definition of American grew to include those of African descent. Then in the late 1800s and early 1900s, more Eastern Europeans came, and then we included them. We gave women the right to vote and finally included women in our definition of American. Then the Asian population grew with immigrants from China who worked the building of the railroads. The Hispanics occupied the land of the United States longer than their white counterparts from England, France, Germany, and other white European countries. Our definition of American must continue to expand as it has in the past. Today, we must also include the Muslim, the gay, and the recent immigrants. We are all Americans. If de Crevecour were alive today, he would include us all.